Hello everyone, it's Paola and today I'm sharing with you my July wrap-up. So July was a very interesting month because I ended up reading way more books than I could have ever anticipated. A couple of these books are ones that I started in June. Others were graphic novels and I read one that was a very short book. But overall it was a great reading month. Let's get started with the graphic novels that I read. First up, I want to talk about There Are Things I Can't Tell You by Edako Mofumofu. This is a manga and it's about two men who have been friends for a really long time, and now as adults they are navigating their feelings for each other, and it's angsty but it's also kind of fluffy. It's very wholesome and the sex scenes are like really well done, not in terms of how like graphic they were, because they are graphic sex scenes, but they're just very full of heart. You know, it's just a book that was written with so much love and so much dedication, and you can feel it. I also read Ever After by Olivia Vivek. I don't know how to pronounce her name, it's German. But this is an adaptation of a movie called the same way, Ever After, and it's about two girls, Vivi and Eva, who are trying to get from Weimar to Jena. I hope that's how you pronounce those German cities, because those two are the only cities that are safe from the zombies. This is a post-apocalyptic horror, zombie-riddled graphic novel, and it was interesting. I don't know, it was kind of confusing because you look at the cover and then you open the book and you see the art, and so I kind of felt for a while that I was in a wholesome ride. The art very much feels like the Madeline cartoon. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that cartoon. I'll put a picture here. Upon first glance it was like, oh, this is kind of cute, it's kind of wholesome, and then you get to like the zombie parts and the psychiatric ward part of it, and it's just like, wait, what am I reading? That made it feel like you were watching a very like graphic, very gory, horror driven version of the zombies movies from Disney Channel. And apparently the movie is just as confusing and it left just as much to be wanted from it. The last graphic novel that I read is called The Photographer of Madhausen. This was written by Salva Rubio and illustrated by Pedro Columbo. I found this one along with the other graphic novels in the Read Now section of NetGalley, and I was immediately intrigued because I had watched the Netflix movie that they made. Not necessarily that one is based on the other, it just follows like the same true events of the life of Francesc Boix. So his official job was to take pictures for the identification of prisoners, but unofficially he also taking pictures of the Nazi officers so that they could send them to their families, their girlfriends, etc. And so upon like a weird turn of events, Francisco Boix ended up being like a confidant of Paul Ricken. I believe that's like his real name. He was an SS officer who was, the book painted as him being obsessed with death, and so he would take Francesc with him to take pictures of the dead bodies. This was also for identification purposes, but obviously the reports lied. So if, say, there was a body cut up in barbed wire, the report said that it was Spaniards or prisoners in general trying to die by suicide. But in reality, the bodies had like a bullet in their heads, and it was obvious that they hadn't wanted to die. They had been killed by Nazi officers. And so Francesc Boix got it in his head that it would be a good idea to steal the negatives of some of those photos so that when the time came, Nazis would pay for their crimes. And so the time came during the Nuremberg trials, and Francesc Boix was actually the only Spaniard to testify against Nazis in the Nuremberg trials. So that's what the graphic novel is about. It gets to like the nitty-gritty parts of how Francesc Boix teamed up with some of his Spaniard comrades, so to speak, so that they could all like find places to steal and find places to hide these negatives. So it was a very interesting read. It was also written in first person point of view, so it was kind of like reading Boix's memoir. Please give it a chance. It's one of the most interesting pieces in history, and I don't think enough people know about it, so check it out. There's also a movie on Netflix, which I think is I mean, it's not a bad movie, but if you want to get informed, I would much rather go with a documentary, obviously, but also the graphic novel. Now let's talk about the YA books that I read. First, I want to talk about Shiny Broken Pieces by Sona Charaipotra and Daniel Clayton. This is the sequel and the last part of the Tiny Pretty Things duology. This is about 3 ballet dancers who are in a very competitive conservatory, and this book is full of character development. It's so angsty and frustrating to read. It's just like you care about the characters, so it's like, I don't want anything bad to happen to them. And this book is all about consequences, so that part was, you know, like frustrating, because it's like, I'm glad that they're doing this, but what about the consequences? It was such a good book. It was such a great way to end the series. Now I want to talk about Love from A2C by S.K. Ali, and I'll try to be as brief as possible because I still have so many more books to talk about. This is a YA contemporary romance book set in Doha, Qatar, and it's about 2 Muslim teenagers who meet by chance and fall in love, and it is so good. It is a hard-hitting contemporary story, but it's also so funny, so hopeful. I've just never read anything like it. And there's an event that happens in the book concerning a teacher that, as I was reading the book, I was like, this must be based on true events, right? Like, I mean, like, you can't make this stuff up. And cut to the author's note, it is based on true events. And it is wild to me that people like that exist, but sadly it's our reality. And I am so glad that S.K. Ali brought it to light in a way that was both challenging but also very hopeful. This book also includes representation for multiple sclerosis. I cannot even begin to express how much that impacted me. It was so good. I don't know how S.K. Ali does it, but I love her stuff. I cannot wait to read the next book that she has coming out, I think in spring of 2021 or in summer 2021. Now let's talk about Private Lessons by Cynthia Salaisai. This is a hard-hitting YA contemporary book about Claire. She's 17 years old and she really wants to get into a good college, so she starts getting private lessons with a renowned 30-something teacher, and she starts to get involved with him. So I know that's a very like sensitive topic, and with good reason, but this is a Me Too book, and so just by saying that, I feel like it should be understood that this is a book that explores that dynamic and that power imbalance, and it does it in such a phenomenal way. It is intense, it is tough to read, but it is full of character development, full of growth, and I appreciate it so much. It's just one of those books that every single word you're reading has a reason to be there. And I got the opportunity to talk to Cynthia, and I loved her. She is the sweetest. Picking her brain was one of my favorite things to do ever, so check it out. I will leave a link to it down below. I also got the opportunity to read an arc for Never Look Back by Lilian Rivera. This is another hard-hitting YA contemporary, but this is a retelling of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, featuring Afro-Latinx characters. Fuse is a bachata singer who has like this gift, as Orpheus did, to sort of, you know, just enchant the room, and Yuri, who is based on Eurydice, is dealing with a lot of pain because she has a post-traumatic stress disorder because of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. And so now she's in the Bronx and she's sort of trying to get a break from all of that because her mom doesn't think that she needs like professional help. So she sends her off to her cousins, and it is so ridiculously good. It is feminist, it is hopeful, it is intense. It's just too good. I also got the opportunity to talk to Lilian Rivera, and that interview is coming on Friday, so stay tuned for that. And finally, let's talk about the romance books that I read. Let's start with the sour note so we can end on a sweet note. So Girl Gone Viral by Alicia Rai. This is an adult contemporary romance between a former model and her bodyguard that kicks off after our female main character has been caught on camera talking to some guy, and the person that took the picture, so she got it in her head that it would be a good idea to upload that picture and have the world think that these two were in love. Unfortunately, our main character does not want that kind of attention. That's why she stopped being a model. She has a lot of mental health issues, and so she's like, no, I need to hide. And the bodyguard offers her his family's farm, and this book was a lot. The female main character was great. Like, I loved the voice, you know, nothing special, nothing bad about it, great. But the male narrator was so bad. He sounded like he was bored. There was just too much going on at once. There was a child abuse subplot. There was like a testify at court sort of thing. There was the Cafe Bay thing, which was like the main driving force apparently. And there was a kidnapping thing. There were flashbacks or pseudo flashbacks because the main characters go way back. There was divorce. It was just a lot. We'll leave a link to the live show down below, which is where Cant and I got to rant about it. Finding Joy by Adriana Herrera. This is an contemporary romance set in Ethiopia, and it's about two gay men falling in love. One of them is Dominican American and the other one is Ethiopian, and they both work for Aid USA. This was just fluffy but also angsty. The sex scenes were so good. Everything about this book was so good. It just felt like a very big, comforting bear hug. I also got to interview Adriana Herrera, so I will leave our interview linked down below. Definitely check it out. She is a genius, and I cannot wait to read Here to Stay, which comes out this month. You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. This is an MF romance book between two telenovela co-stars. Jasmine is a soap opera actress who is dealing with being on the tabloids because she had a very messy breakup. And Ashton is the complete opposite. He is an established, well-known telenovela actor, and he keeps his private life private. This was so good. It is very well balanced because this book is, you know, primarily a romance story, but we also get a really nice, lovely familial relationship between Jasmine and her two cousins, and it is so good. This also felt like a hug, but while Finding Joy felt like a hug the entire time, this one felt like a slow moving hug. You know, it was slowly pulling you into its arms and making you feel safe. Loved it with my whole entire heart. I also got to talk to Alexis Daria. I will leave a link to our interview down below. And the last book that I have to talk about is That Could Be Enough by Alyssa Cole. This is an FF historical romance between Mercy and Andromeda. Mercy is one of Eliza Hamilton's maids, and she's also a writer. And Andromeda is a seamstress, dressmaker. She has her own business. This book is so good. I think it's about 107 pages, something like that. It's short, but it's fluffy and it's angsty. And there's a lot of talk about what was going on at the time concerning Black people as business owners, more specifically Black women as business owners, and it was so good. Definitely check it out, and definitely watch me and Lucy during our live show this Sunday at 6 p.m. EST. I will leave a link to the thing down below so you can set the reminder and watch us talk about it. Alrighty, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you've read or are interested in reading any of the books that I talked about. And if you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!